Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Hot Tips for Keeping Students Engaged with Employability Skills webinar. I'm going to start shortly, but I just want to wait for those who may be trying to connect at the moment. So I'm going to take about, let's say, 30 seconds before I start. If you want, in the meantime, you can write in the chat box where you're joining us from. And to say hi, you can basically just tell us where you're joining us from. All right. Hi. Hello. We've participants from Paris, from France, Assam, with a participant from Pakistan. Hello, Balkan. Again from France, Provence. Hello, welcome to the webinar. All right. Okay, it's very nice. Thank you for being here. So I think that was enough time. It's already past 1 minute, so I think we can start. Before we start, just a little bit about me. I'm your speaker for today. I'm Sena Edibal-Ichus. I'm a senior ELT coordinator at ETS, and I'm currently based out of Istanbul, Turkey. I have degrees in ELL, a BA and an MA degree, and I have credentials and micro-credentials in ELT, and I have more than 7 years of teaching experience at university level, but I also took part in various academic and administrative duties. And the QR code that you see on the screen is connected to my LinkedIn account. I would be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn whenever we have an upcoming webinar, a free teacher training workshop, some teacher news. I share them I actually repost them on my LinkedIn account. So I would be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. So this is our agenda for today. First of all, we're going to talk about employability skills, what they are, and why they're important, and especially why it is important to teach employability skills at higher education. Basically, when your students are university, college, vocational school students, why they belong in the university. And we're going to be talking about this briefly. Then we're going to talk about the summer learning loss, or the summer slide that happens during summer months when students are kind of disconnected from school, and the kind of learning loss that they have during summer and how to overcome it, especially with ideas to keep students engaged with employability skills. We have a couple of ideas to share with you, especially if you're teaching business English classes or employability skills, workplace skills classes, and workplace English. Then these ideas are actually I think they will be quite useful to you. And then we'll briefly see how TOEIC helps with this, how you can actually use TOEIC as a framework to help your students to be more prepared for the workplace, and to be prepared prepared with relevant workplace English skills. And finally, I'm going to share with you some teacher development opportunities we have here at ETS. And then if you have questions, we're going to be, I'm going to be answering your questions in the last 1 or 2 minutes. So I think it's time to start now with our discussion into employability skills. So employability skills is the main focus of our webinar today. As you know, employability skills, or it also has other names, such as some people call them workplace skills, some people call them workability skills, some call it business skills, although it's a little bit different, I guess, but mostly it's called, they're called employability skills. There are those abilities that help someone get a job, keep a job, and grow in their careers, right? And developing and improving employability skills are especially important for students in higher education institutions such as universities, colleges, vocational schools, business English schools, if you have them in your country, even in graduate schools, in like graduate programs at universities. And as teachers in higher education, and I was actually one of those teachers in higher education because I worked at a university, We know that it's important for us to help our students succeed in their academic courses. But apart from that, we also need to help our students be well prepared for the time that they're supposed to join the workforce. And what we mean by being prepared is having the necessary KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities to help them get a job, keep their job, and also grow in their careers. And many employability skills are actually these, soft skills, which are non-technical. They're mostly interpersonal, and they're behavioral skills that help individuals work effectively with other people and succeed in a professional environment. And the rough list of these, soft skills, these soft employability skills are teamwork, problem solving, time management, adaptability, leadership, digital and information literacy, and now we can even include AI literacy into this list, and professional communication. And these skills, the good thing about these skills is that they are generic in nature. So they aren't tied to a specific job or a specific, field, profession, but they can be applied across different jobs and across different life situations. So they're actually transferable skills. These are skills that you learn at one point in your life, and then you keep on applying them in different contexts and situations. And when we look at these soft skills, or these, employability or workability skills, whatever you call them, we actually see that communication makes the basis of almost all of these skills. You need to be an effective communicator to be effective at teamwork, to be effective in a teamwork environment. In problem solving, because problem solving usually requires negotiating meaning and negotiating with other people. In leadership positions, it's especially important to have good communication skills. But also, for digital and to be digital and information literate, and also obviously for professional communication across all these ability areas. So we've just established that communication, or, to be more specific, workplace communication skills are a core component of employability skills in general, right? And this is where English comes into play. English is almost like the lingua franca of today's business world. It's the global language of businesses around the world. And you need to have good English skills, especially English as it is used in workplace environments, to be successful at the workplace. And with the workplace relevant skills and abilities, such as collaborating with people globally, using professional tools and systems. And as you know, professional tools, systems that we use at work, they mostly operate in English. It's important to have clear written and verbal communication skills. And even when you look at this very skill, clear written and verbal communication skills, even this core skill kind of expands into other skills as well. It's like this umbrella skill that helps you write professional emails and reports, participate in meetings, give presentations like business presentations, listen actively and respond clearly, negotiating and solving conflicts, and using appropriate tone and register. But maybe most importantly, we need clear and proficient workplace English skills for our customer and client interactions, and maybe also most importantly for our career advancement, right? So at this point, it's maybe important to again highlight the connection between higher education and employability, because there's this gap that we call the employability gap, where in higher education institutions, students basically learn, yes, they learn English, they learn their courses, subjects, etc. But then when they're supposed to join the workforce, then they face this kind of challenge, that there's this, kind of a huge learning curve that makes them feel fish out of water, right? So this is where higher education becomes instrumental, and teaching English in higher education becomes instrumental in preparing students for the workplace ahead. So, we've been talking about the employability skills that, we've just been talking about, and we've also been talking about how it is kind of our jobs as English teachers, especially in higher education, and also, language training institutes as well, to help these students with employability skills, workplace English skills. That's kind of, one side of the coin. We've kind of, already established that. And throughout this academic year, actually, we've had many webinars to talk about how these are important, and how, what kinds of things you can do to help your students improve workplace or employability skills. But then we wanted to do this specific webinar to talk about something that we all know, that we are all familiar with, but we cannot sometimes, do anything about, especially around the summertime. There's something that's called the summer slide. It's when basically students, when the academic year finishes and students have this 1 month or 2 month, or depending on your country, 3-month summer vacation, and you kind of see a loss in their English abilities, right? So English is basically like, it's just very similar to maybe physical fitness, or, doing a sport. If you don't do it for a kind of a, longer period, then your skills start to fade. You kind of, start to lose momentum. And language learning is very similar to that, especially when you are doing this like in a thematic way, like uh, building employability skills in English. Basically, when you have like learning that's focused on a specific thing in English, then language learning requires consistency, right? In even in like short intervals, we may sometimes lose some of the knowledge and some of the skills that we gain in our courses. And when we're talking about the summer break, which is like this 1, 2, and like I said, sometimes 3 months long, it's kind of a long interval, and it can be a critical period for students. Without regular engagement, students risk losing the momentum that they've built throughout the school year. And this is, just like I said, this is something, it's a phenomenon that's called the summer slide. So you can imagine this like a slide. Basically, one moment you're at the top of the slide, and in a short time, you're at the bottom of the slide. So I think the analogy is basically like this. It's basically the learning loss that happens during summer months, the decline in academic skills, and not only the skills, but also the knowledge that students experience when they are not involved in structured educational activities. And research shows that a typical student usually loses a little more than 1 month's worth of skills and knowledge across each academic area throughout the summer. In the context of language learning, the impact can be maybe more visible than other subject areas, because just like I said, language, and you would also know, language learning requires consistency, and you kind of lose what you've gained in a short time without noticing. In language learning, especially, vocabulary is forgotten very quickly. And when we're talking about like employability skills courses, business English classes, then you learn a specific vocabulary. Then, this specific vocabulary is kind of, lost easily during such long intervals, such as the summer break. Research also shows that listening comprehension weakens as well during summer months. Fluency and confidence drop. And actually, research also shows that for confidence to drop, you don't even need such long intervals as the whole summer break. Confidence drops even at very short intervals. And if you're doing specific preparation, then test preparation progress also kinds of stalls during long summer breaks. And again, research demonstrates that the summer slide has a particularly harmful impact on reading achievement. Actually, a study that was done in Quebec shows that 60 to 80% of students who dropped out of secondary school made that decision during the summer months, right? And that's heavily because engagement drops in summer. Students are no longer engaged in structured learning activities, but they're kind of, they're kind of in this, interval where they maybe either do something like some unofficial and some, not heavy study, or basically they don't do anything. And this engagement drops because of that, and because of this, first of all, because of this lack of structure, because they don't have regular classes, or they don't have accountability per se. And I think that's one of the most important reasons. But apart from this, there's also this priorities that kind of compete during summer months. They have their summer travels. Some of them, they have their summer jobs or internships, and social life can also become, it can also take the center stage very easily. You also have this break mentality during the summer because it's such a long period, which is kind of a good thing, the break mentality. But when it's such an extended period of time, then it can be detrimental to students' learning. And finally, maybe most importantly, students have very limited access to resources. There's no regular check-ins, there's no accountability, and they basically close their books and then put them on the shelf, and then they forget about everything about school. So these are the things that kind of basically cause this engagement drop during summer months, which result in the summer slide phenomenon that we've just been talking about. But the good thing is we can actually do stuff to prevent the summer slide by keeping students engaged with some light, fun, and meaningful activities that fit the summer vibe without overloading students, and most importantly, maybe without overloading us teachers, right? So we have just a couple of ideas to share with you, especially for those teachers who may be teaching like employability skills, business English, workplace English kind of skills. But you can, even though you're not, maybe teaching these courses, then you can still maybe find some ideas to apply in your regular English classes as well. So we call them hot tips for summer engagement, some ideas to keep students engaged with workplace English communication skills during the summer. So while it is true that summer can be a time when students, disengage naturally, it may also be a unique opportunity to, to try out maybe new things. When it comes to building workplace English communication skills, it can actually, the summertime can actually present us with some opportunities to do things in a more flexible manner. So during the summer, you don't have formal obligations. You have fewer formal obligations. So maybe, it gives us, both us teachers, but also to students, more freedom to explore creative, low pressure ways of learning. You can basically think of anything, I don't know, improving your English through TV series only during the summer, maybe exploring some new podcasts, or maybe some new methods, maybe applications on the phone. These are maybe some things that you don't have time for during your regular semesters, but during the summer you don't have formal obligations, so maybe it's a good time to try these out and to see how effective they are, both for us teachers but also for students themselves, to try out to see if they're actually learning with such tools and such resources. This flexibility also opens doors to more possibilities. Summertime also gives us opportunity for real world learning and real world practice sometimes, because as you know, some students in higher education, They sometimes take up summer jobs, like small jobs, internships, or maybe volunteering. And these are all authentic, even travels. These are all authentic contexts where they can actually practice, using English in meaningful ways. It's also a time for self-paced progress because you don't have deadlines to catch, you don't have the pressure of exams. So students can be engaged more in self-paced learning, doing things their own way at their own pace. So it's kind of good in that respect as well. And it also gives them time for reflection, especially in higher education, they may want to sometimes reassess their goals, both academic goals and professional goals. So summertime can be a good time for that. So why not use this time? If you're also, teaching workplace communication, workplace English, to kind of, help our students improve at this area as well. So as teachers, there are some things we can do to help our students set clear, measurable, and most importantly, realistic learning goals for the summer. Um, you can think of many examples such as, I don't know, maybe how asking students to aim to learn 5 or 10 new business phrases each week, or listening to at least one business English or business podcast every week, etc. But I think the good thing, the important thing here is to provide some sort of structure to whatever we're doing. And there are some ideas on how to do that. One idea we have is to create progress logs for your students. You can provide your students with easy to use templates. They can all either be like printed, or better would be on a phone. Some digital trackers to help them track their progress, maybe log their newly word vocabulary, or that's kind of a lot of work, or maybe just some kind of a checklist that they will just put a check mark next to, just to help them see how far they've come, how far they've achieved, even during the summer break, and also for you to, maybe if you want to see, for you to kind of track. You can have regular check-ins. Not you, I'm not suggesting that you as a teacher have check-ins with your students during the summer, but maybe you can, and I'm actually going to share an idea about how to do that without your engagement during the summer. But you can maybe have your students grouped up before the summer break starts, and there can be like a group leader, and they can have like maybe WhatsApp groups on their phone. And every week or every 2 weeks, a group leader can check with the group what they have done so far, what kinds of, what new business English episodes podcast episodes they listen to, how many new vocabulary they've learned, etc. So helping students, kind of track their progress with regular check-ins with one another as well, by assigning maybe, like I said, a group leader. You can have maybe mini assessments for them along the way, some like pre-prepared assess. Again, I'm not suggesting you do these during the summer, but previously maybe preparing some mini assessments such as quick vocabulary checks, or I don't know, quick listening tasks, etc., that can be pre-prepared and can be assigned to be done during the summer. And especially important, maybe when they come back, it's important to celebrate milestones, especially like the progress if they have made during the summer. It's very important to kind of appreciate that openly. I actually have this one specific idea that I want to share with you. And if I were still teaching, honestly, I would definitely do this. This is basically, I've been saying maybe you can have regular check-ins with your students, maybe they can track their progress, maybe you can assign them some stuff previously, and this is the way to do it. So this is about boosting employability skills with business platforms. There are various digital business platforms that are used by companies for internal and external communication, uh, for setting up business meetings, for sharing information, basically keeping up with the work, having video meetings, video chats, for managing projects, etc. There are these digital office tools such as Microsoft Teams or Google Workspace, or maybe there are other such tools as well. And these tools have various different purposes, right? In my organization, we actually use, for example, Microsoft Teams for almost all our business communication, internal and also external most of the time. And these platforms come with freemium versions. Freemium, so it's basically kind of free, but it gives you a look into the premium. It comes with some premium features. And most of these tools, like I said, they have their freemium versions, which can be good enough, sufficient enough to use for education purposes. So what I'm suggesting is that you can use these platforms with your students to assign them tasks, to have video calls with your students, or to have them video calls with one another for their team projects, etc., to send and receive emails, to send and receive messages, to start discussion threads, to store information, to upload, download stuff, etc. You can basically think of anything. You can use any feature that comes with these tools. And normally, it doesn't have to be limited to summer study, but it can be made use of during your actual semesters as well. But specifically for summer study, we recommend that teachers set up tasks using the calendar functions in these tools. You basically have, calendars in these tools. I know it because I'm using it every day for my, work, for my job. And you have this calendar, and even from now, this is the 1st of June, right? I can set up a meeting to take place in 6 months at a specific day and time, or I can set up a reminder for my teammates 8 months from now. You can do these things with such digital office tools. So maybe, the idea here is that as a teacher, you can before the summer term starts, in the spring term, you can set up reminders on Microsoft Teams or Google Workspace, whatever that you want to use with your students. You can set up tasks every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, however you want. You can maybe, I don't know, send, you can write emails and prepare messages to be sent at a certain time. I don't know, to help them with motivation, or to send them notifications. You can actually prepare them beforehand and then kind of, set up a day and time for them to be sent. And you can work with your students using these actual office tools. Some, again, definitely not suggesting. You can also even set up assignments or send surveys, etc. And I'm not suggesting you do these during the summer as teachers. Repeating myself, just to stay on the safe side. You can actually have them set up in the spring term and have them sent whenever the time comes for these reminders, messages, assignments, surveys to your students. And the best thing is, these tools work on phones, so they can just download whatever tool you're using, Teams or Google Workspace, and they can have those notifications, those mini assignments, those surveys, those reminders on their phone. So you can keep them basically engaged with whatever course you're teaching this way. And the good thing about these platforms is that a lot of institutions, a lot of workplaces, they use these platforms. Like I said, in my organization, we use Microsoft Teams. And I did not have experience with Microsoft Teams before I started working at ETS. So when I first started, and I kind of consider myself to be, good with technology, but even for me, there was a learning curve. I actually had to, kind of spend some time trying to learn, trying to navigate and find my way around Microsoft Teams to be able to learn how to use it properly, etc. And these platforms have their own lingos. So, it's good if you use these platforms for your courses, for your business English, employability skills, English courses with your students. And this way, you're not only, preparing them for the workplace by teaching them the relevant English, but also it's great that we are actually giving our students the opportunity to learn about these platforms as well, because once they graduate, they will surely be working with one of these platforms, like a platform like these ones, Teams or Google Workspace, or Monday, etc. Any other digital office tools or project management tools. So if you can find like a good freemium version, maybe check them out, whichever one. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of them has better features in the freemium version, or in the like the completely free version. Then you can basically use these both during the semester, and also to keep your students' study structured during the summer months. Another idea that I would like to share with you, this is just this is kind of very cliche to you know to use TV shows or films, podcasts to keep students engaged um, when they're learning English, etc. But I think it's especially kind of important to be reminded of this for students summertime learning, because during the summer we cannot expect students to actually sit down and study some. I mean, yes, we can assign them tasks, and some of them will do, but during the summer, most of them will be kind of demotivated to do such things. So it's especially important to keep summer learning fun and light and engaging during the summer, and you have the chance to do it with TV shows and films and stuff, which is great because they also come with authentic content. Um, we have some specific examples for you that I would like to highlight here. The first one is The Office. It's my all-time favorite TV show, all-time favorite. I actually have even I even have these figures from The Office, from little people at my desk, because it's kind of my all-time favorite TV show. It was even like the intro music from The Office, the US version, was my wedding song. So I really love this. The US version, but there's also the UK version. It's very good. It's very funny, and the good thing is, watching The Office, you actually get to learn a lot of workplace lingo. You get to learn a lot of workplace, a lot about workplace humor, office dynamics, everyday business conversations. Um, Business specific terms, some acronyms maybe that you wouldn't learn in an English course that are used in workplace environments. So this would be my first suggestion. It's also an amazing TV show, but I should also maybe note that it's a very satirical TV show. So it basically highlights and critiques problematic behaviors. It doesn't really promote them, but still, if your students tend to take things, maybe, I don't know, like if they maybe they may be young and they may not really understand satire, so in that respect maybe it would be good to talk with them first about this, to kind of discuss with them. So viewer discretion is it, although that it doesn't come with like any +18 content, still it may be, because it's so satirical, depending on the context, you may want to discuss this with your students beforehand. There's also Parks and Recreation, which is another kind of comedy that takes place in an office setting, and it might help students to get exposed to business or office related vocabulary, again just like The Office. It might help them understand workplace dynamics, again just like The Office, and the kind of language that is used to solve workplace conflicts. If you want, you can even maybe turn watching these things into a more structured exercise. You can actually have, like, now that we have ChatGPT and other tools, you can actually maybe ask ChatGPT for specific episodes from these shows that really come with like workplace relevant English, the opportunity to expose students with workplace relevant English. I, for example, remember this one specific episode from The Office where there's like kind of conflict and the resolution of that conflict, and there's some level of business English and some level of office language used. So it can be good to ask for those specific episodes, and if you want, you can even like have AI create you a kind of a light and short, like fill in the blanks kind of I don't know, like a worksheet or question answer open-ended questions worksheet for your students to maybe complete while they're watching if you want that. There's also Swits. It focuses on legal and corporate language, negotiation, professional dialogue. There's also Madman, if you know. It provides a glimpse into marketing, advertising, vocabulary, etc. And I believe you would also know the Social Network. It's a movie that again provides a glimpse into tech startup culture. But apart from these TV shows and films, there's this uh, website that I really like by BBC. It's called English at Work. It's like I wouldn't call them necessarily podcasts, but they are like short um, audio recordings, like dialogues with some animations, and they specifically focus on workplace English. It comes with mostly useful language, such as useful language to announce a decision at the workplace, language for presenting a new product, language for telling someone what to do at the workplace. They're great. I really like them. They're kind of old-fashioned, with the very like slow-moving animations, but they're still very good. They're very like focused on workplace English. And one more thing. We just said that especially during the summer months, we see research shows that we see a great decline, not only in reading, but also in vocabulary, especially when the vocabulary that students are learning is a more like kind of a thematic vocabulary, business English, business vocabulary. So it's important to practice vocabulary, but during the summer months, instead of just, giving your students random word lists that they can maybe, practice, what they can, use to practice English, etc. Maybe it's a good idea to organize them by industry themes, such as marketing, finance, HR, travel, etc. And the impact and the retention becomes real when we connect these themes to summer activities, such as, students can basically learn travel vocabulary by planning their dream summer trip, booking their flights, etc. Or they can explore marketing terms by designing a mock summer event campaign, complete with slogans and social media posts, etc. And to help vocabulary learning stick, we recommend, again, using some language learning or vocabulary like practice tools such as Quizlet or Memrise. They're both very good. I'm sure you know them. Memrise is kind of older than Quizlet. It's been, it's changed a lot in the past tense. In the past years, they help students remember vocabulary using spaced repetition, and it basically takes the takes all the work off of your shoulders. You can upload the vocabulary here. You can assign some quick repetitions, some quick vocabulary exercises, etc. Again, to do them, you can use Google Workspace or Microsoft Teams, and you can set them up beforehand. For every 2 weeks, for example, you can have students send a Quizlet link or a Memrise, again, link that they can use. And they also help make vocabulary learning contextual, memorable, and also kind of sustainable, because they're smart tech tools and they take off the heavy lifting off of your shoulders. And finally, I just want to talk about how TOEIC can be used and how it can be integrated into your summer teaching plans. So as you would know, the TOEIC tests are designed around authentic workplace scenarios. So embedding TOEIC style tasks into your lessons and into your assessments um, kind of gives you the ability to help your students do more focused practice in the kind of English that they'll actually use when they're working. It's not just test prep when you're preparing for TOEIC. It's actually career prep as well. The test measures listening, speaking, reading, and writing. I'm talking about the 4 skills tests. So it also offers a balanced framework for language development. By integrating 4 skills into your teaching, you basically help your students become more well-rounded communicators in English. And one of the best things about TOEIC is that, because it's such a communication-based test, and because the test is just, it's really heavily focused on the skills that we use at a workplace, on the language, vocabulary, and the skills that we use at the workplace. When you prepare for the TOEIC test, it doesn't mean you're just preparing for a test, but it also means you are actually preparing to handle real workplace scenarios. So it works like both ways. When you prepare for the test, automatically you're also preparing to be successful at workplace communication. It also goes the other way around. If you're already teaching your students like workplace English, especially on using workplace relevant tasks, because the tasks in it's a very also task-based test. The tasks in the TOEIC test are based in real life workplace tasks. So if you're already teaching them these, then you're also preparing them for success in the TOEIC test. Finally, when your students are prepared, and then when they take the TOEIC test, it comes with a valuable certification of their English skills, showing them what they can do in English, especially in workplace environments. And also, it's a very kind of detailed certificate and the score report that comes with information about what they can do in English and what they need to do in English to improve. With these, it's already 42 minutes, so I just want to cover this final portion of the webinar. I want to just give you a couple of, show you just a couple of slides with some additional resources we have for TOEIC and our teacher support opportunities at ETS. So first of all, we've just been talking about the TOEIC test, so I would like to show you some official TOEIC resources, because I work in the TOEIC program and I kind of want to always, show these to teachers that we have these opportunities, free resources, and this whole picture that you have when it comes to TOEIC preparation and taking the TOEIC tests. We have some sample tests and sample materials for teachers and for students to use. We have a TOEIC test level projector. I don't know if you can see my cursor. It's here. It's basically sample like a test that students take. At the end of this test, it's free. You see their level in English in listening and in reading, I believe. Currently not in speaking and writing, but in listening and reading. And we have full test, free test that you can find on the ETS website if you want to maybe use for your, I always say this, TOEIC is not just a test, it's also basically a framework to help you with your workplace English or employability skills, business English, whatever you call them, in these courses. It provides you with this framework to show you what kind of language, what kind of vocabulary, what kind of structures, and what kind of skills you need to be working at with your students to prepare them for the workplace ahead. So go ahead and explore these TOEIC materials to give you also some ideas. We also have some practice materials apart from these free materials, such as the TOEIC official learning and preparation course, which is an online course. online self-paced course for students. We have, it's great, the TOEIC application, the new application, TOEIC Tests Official Content. It's an application that you can use on your phone. It comes with both free and some premium features. And it's just great. You can basically, you know, waiting for a bus, sitting at the park, sitting at the cafe, whenever you have free time, you can actually open this application and kind of, you know, do some practice, whatever you're doing. It's really good. And also it's great for summer study as well, when you don't want to like have a lot of like structured and heavy study, but rather have some light and some, you know, quick study for your students. It's called a TOEIC Tests Official Content application. We have Hachette books from the publisher Hachette. These are currently available in France, but they're going to be rolled out in other regions as well. And finally, we have official TOEIC preparation tests as well, like full tests that students can take before they take the actual tests. Oh, for teachers, we have free, mostly online, rather virtual teacher workshops. These workshops take place certain times a year. I actually had many workshops this year, many workshops, like at least once every month. But during the summer, they're going to be like fewer. I think I have one upcoming workshop. These are free teacher workshops on the TOEIC tests. But even if you're not interested in TOEIC, you can still benefit from these workshops. They take place over 2 days and they're completely free. They take place on digital, they basically take place virtually, online workshops, but we also sometimes have them face-to-face certain times a year. And I think this is one of the most important one of all. This is our ELT page at ETS, the ELT community page. This is where we host all our upcoming webinars, workshops. We have our teacher WhatsApp groups. You can see them here and become part of them. And we have our online English teachers community. This is basically an online teacher database that we have, and we send our quarterly newsletter to this community. Whenever we have a very important update for teachers, we send them an email. We don't bombard you with emails all the time. It's just whenever there's something important for you, we let you know through this community. Is when you click on, when you go to this page, I shared a link in the chat box, by the way. You don't have to scan the QR code. It's when you go down to the bottom, it says join the online ELT community. When you click on it, you will just fill in a short form and you'll become part of the community. You can see, like I said, all our upcoming workshops, free workshops for teachers and webinars. We have pedagogical webinars, complete like academic webinars. We also have sometimes some webinars specifically about our assessment solutions as well. So you can check them out on this link. The link is in the chat box. You can also scan the QR code. And if you are interested, we also have teacher WhatsApp groups. We have one, the left one, for teachers in Middle East, North Africa, and in Turkey. And then the one at the right side is for teachers in Central Asia. There's no difference. The difference is just in the different time zones. In case you want to maybe get notifications for upcoming webinars, workshops, etc. on your phone, you can join one of these WhatsApp groups. Again, we don't send you messages all the time, and it's just us admins that can send messages. It's just whenever we have an upcoming webinar workshop, we send a notification. So one or maximum like 2 in a week. Sometimes whenever there's no webinar workshop, we don't send anything. But I would recommend if you want to get like quick notifications. And with this, the visual is a little bit distorted. Sorry about that. I think we can now put an end to our webinar. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. I hope this has been, I hope you were able to even, get maybe just a couple of ideas. It would still be good. Thank you so much. You can always reach out to us. We have new email addresses, by the way, for those who already, I see some people here that we're already in contact. but we have new email addresses. It used to be etsglobal.org. Now it's just ets.org. You can reach out to us whenever you have a question, whenever you want to just, maybe say something, ask something. You can always email us at our email addresses. So thank you so much. With this, in 50 minutes, we can put an end to our webinar. Let me just go through the chat box quickly to see if there's any question. Oh, so Elzada says, we use such platforms as Google Classroom, Calendar, Forms, Meet, and Gemini AI. So that's great. Yeah, so Google Classroom is kind of similar to this, but I would suggest like maybe for especially like workplace English or business English courses, maybe using Google Workspace or Microsoft Teams, those actual tools that are used for business communication. It can actually, it's a great asset for students to have prior experience with these tools when they apply for a job. Because when you don't, it's kind of, takes some time before you feel confident using these tools. So I think, especially in like a employability, workability skills course, business English course, I think it's a good idea to use it as part of your course with your students, especially when it comes to if you want to do something during the summer, kind of provide your students with a structured study opportunity. Then you can set up like reminders, you can set up assignments, you can set up surveys beforehand using such tools. But it's great that, Google Classroom, Calendar, they're also great. But like I'm saying, actual experience with Microsoft Teams, Google Workspace is a great asset for students when they when they are ready to graduate. Somebody asks the link. I think it's the link to the ELT community. You can find it in the chat box, Yusuf. I'm gonna put it here once again. Cesar says, thank you. That's great. Thank you, Cesar. And we have Sonia who says, I specifically recommend, where is it? I highly recommend the workshops. I think you were maybe a past participant. It's great. Yeah, our workshops are actually great. There's like interaction, and we also get to discuss things in detail. So yeah, I'd be happy to see you at the workshops as well. So somebody asks about the certificates. We will get them hopefully within this month. It's from a past workshop participant. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. It was very nice, and hope to see you in the upcoming webinars and or workshops. Have a nice rest of the evening. Bye. Thank you, Georgina. Thank you, Anaria. Thank you, Yusuf. Bye.